this evening our very own student, Crush Radio presenter and Formula 1 journalist, Sebastian Scott.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming along this evening, where we're going to take part in a celebration of UH Racing and their latest creation, UH18. Now, before we get to the unveiling of UH18, we're going to have some honorary guest speakers and also a quick word from our team leader. However, first of all, I'd like to introduce our Dean of School. He has a degree and PhD in Electrical and Electronic Engineering. He's also a Fellow of the IET and IMechE, an Honorary Vice President of the Royal Aeronautical Society's Hatfield branch. Please, along with me, give a warm welcome to our first speaker of this evening, Reza Sirtadeh.
Good evening and welcome to University of Hertfordshire. And this event is organized by School of Engineering and Technology. And it's a culmination of months of work and hard work and effort by a group of highly motivated students. I won't take too much of your time, but I just want to chart the history of why we are here and how we've ended up celebrating and showcasing the effort of a group of students who have tirelessly worked over the last few months. 15 years ago, there were 4 engineering departments. 5 years ago, they were all merged after an arduous journey into a single School of Engineering and Technology. The work that is presented downstairs in the main foyer, represents the culmination of a holistic engineering school, enabling the students who are studying engineering concepts to apply those concepts to a variety of disciplines, to a variety of topics, from automatic number plate recognition to drones. And this evening, clearly, the reason we're here is to celebrate the achievement of the Formula student team. One thing that separates us from the other 100 plus Formula student teams who compete annually in UK and internationally is that our students are dedicated to starting and finishing because there's a sense of pride about what they do. If you think about the fact that they finished their exams 3 weeks ago, they will be racing their car at Silverstone in July, and again, they will be driving that car and racing it in Germany in August. When they finished their studies and their examinations 2 months earlier, shows a level of commitment that is unprecedented. But the most important feature of our students' contribution to the engineering field, and in particular the Formula student team, is that all the other competitors, all the other Formula student sponsors invest significant amount of monies and recruit the services of external agencies and companies to help them build their cars. The main feature that separates us from the rest of the teams is that every single part, every single system, every single unit was designed and constructed in-house by our own students. So it is homemade. And every year, the sense of pride associated with racing something that is homemade gets greater, greater, and greater. And for that, I think they are worthy of appreciation and admiration. I won't take any more of your time. I know that most of the students, based on early indications, are destined for a first-class honors. And I would like to congratulate them on having traveled the distance, literally, to be here tonight showcasing their car to you. I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening. And once again, welcome to University of Hertfordshire.
Once again, thank you very much there, Professor Sirtadeh. So, we've just heard there the remarkable commitment and contribution that's shown from a group of students. And I find it remarkable. I've got a couple of statistics and facts for you here, which I think really do demonstrate just how much of a mammoth task it is to build a racing car. Over 63,000 hours have gone into this project since 9 months ago in September. Now, if you split that up into each individual team member, that's around about 2,000 hours each member has put into this amazing work of machinery. And just take that into account as well. Everyone who's been working on this car, they've been studying full-time for a degree. And even the team leader, he doesn't get paid. He's here as a student primarily, but he probably just puts as much effort into Formula Student as his degree, as it would reflect. And that gives me an honor now to introduce our next speaker. He's currently finishing off his studies as a master's in automotive engineering and motorsport. He's been a member of UH Racing since he began here at University of Hertfordshire in 2010. He's this year's current team leader and also the UH18 chassis designer. Please put your hands together for Ross Craig.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for attending this evening. It's a fantastic evening for all of us as a team. It's great to see so many of you here to see the unveiling of our brand new car, UH18. We're not going to do it just yet. We're going to make you wait a little bit longer, but it'll be fantastic when we take those covers off and you see it. It's been a lot of hours put in this year, as Seb said. I've been so proud of the team this year. The amount of hours, the amount of dedication, the amount of teamwork that's gone in has been absolutely fantastic. It's been great to see so many people getting stuck in, learning new skills, and really getting involved in building the car, as well as the static side of it and the media side of the whole project as well. We really feel this year that we can win at both Formula Student UK and Formula Student Germany. The team did fantastically to get their position at Formula Student Germany this year, so we really feel like we're going to be pushing on and really being back up there at the top and being the best UK university this year. Back in 2010 when I joined the university, I really wanted to be the team leader when I grew up and became into my master's year, and that is a dream come true. And it's been such a great experience thanks to the team and thanks to all the support we've had this year. Without the supporters of the university, without our sponsors, and without the family and friends keeping the spirits up with the students on the team, we couldn't complete with the project that we do today. A huge thank you also has to go to the technicians in the Automotive Centre and our machine shop staff, because they help us throughout the year with everything that we need on the car, stay late, work extra hours for us, and really work hard and make sure that we can produce the best car that we can. So I thank them very much as well. It has been a great journey this year. We started off back in September designing the brand new car, building on the performances from last year. We had a disappointing Formula Student Germany last year, so we wanted to make sure that this year when we started with the new car, that we'd be a reliable car, a car that we could compete at the top of the event with and could battle it out with the top European teams. And like I say, underneath that cover is what we believe can do that. So I'm looking forward to unveiling that later, and I thank you very much all for being here this evening. Thank you.
It's a rather unique insight, I should say, there from the team leader, Ross Craig. One more fact. I promise you one more fact, and then I'm going to introduce our honorary guest for this evening, who I'm going to be honoured just to introduce really to the stage. This car that we're going to unveil this evening, the UH18, you know, if you was a group of 30 people and you had an unlimited budget, essentially you could go to fabricators and engineers and say, I'd like this made, and pay for it all. It'd be considerably expensive, and it can be done. However, what makes this effort so special, I feel, is that over 75% of this car has been designed and built from the ground up. So only essential components have actually been brought in from a third party. And that is incredible, that 30 students, while studying for a degree, have built a prototype race car. It deserves a round of applause, I feel, so I'd just like to... And so we come now to our final speaker of the evening, and it's a great privilege for me to be introducing him. He raced in Formula One between 1967 and 1977, driving for legendary teams such as Lotus, McLaren, and BRM. And although his greatest victory did not come in Formula One, he did get podiums in there. However, his greatest victory came outside of Formula One, at a certain circuit in France, which is raced around for 24 hours. I'm sure you've already guessed. He's the 1969 24 Hours of Le Mans winner, and later on, in 1977, went on to own and run a Formula One team, Arrows Grand Prix. I'd like to introduce to the stage, and I hope you can join me in giving a warm welcome to racing legend, Jackie Oliver, please.
I'm really glad that Ashley and Seb and Howard and Ross invited me for the unveiling of Car 18 for this year's exercise. Sharing this with them and looking around the facility as I did this afternoon for the first time, it takes me back to where it all started with my own Formula One team in 1978 in Milton Keynes. I was a professional racing driver until then, and I decided to stop driving and build my own Formula One car. Driving a race car, I found very quickly, was no skill set for producing one. So this exercise, for me, is very interesting, and it really takes me back to 1978 when we launched our first car. Interestingly enough, there are 30 students that have been in this program for a year. When I started my Formula One team in Milton Keynes, I had 30 people and a small factory, which was based really on metal fabrication more than anything else, of which this project is. But interestingly enough, the facilities that they got here in the university were far greater than I had when I built the first Formula One car. And that's what makes this program so authentic and so useful for young students. Because what I did as a driver, I got a team of people around me, designers, machinists, welders, fabricators, a team manager. And the thing that I learned very quickly, which was different to a race driver, is that you can't do it on your own. You have to work with a group of people that have got the same determination and skill sets that are required. And it's enlightening for me in this university to see this program unfold with those 25 people all working together with their own particular skills to produce a car and launch it like I did when I had the first sponsor of my Arrows A1 back in 1978. And then together take it to a test track and to a race, which effectively they will do in July and in August in Germany and Silverstone. So it's a great exercise, and it really takes me back to how I started. Of course, things have moved on a lot since those days, and the technology involved requires much more, but it's a great exercise for all those young students, whether they go into motorsport or not afterwards, is that it's a concentration on working together as a team in which to produce the results. So I'm really pleased that Ashley, who came as a student mechanic on a Formula One, not a Formula One, a BMW saloon car series that I contested last year, and followed up for that, invite me here. So I'm really pleased to be here and share that. I'm only here to sort of talk about the past, but all those students that will be on stage soon to unveil Car 18 is where the future is. So I wish them all the best of luck. Thank you.
Okay, Jackie, if you'd just like to take a seat. I'd like to invite Ross Craig up onto the stage as well. Please, Ross. And also I'd like to introduce Dr. Howard Ash, the senior lecturer here at the University of Hertfordshire and also UH Racing's project supervisor. So who wants to hold the microphone? There we go. Don't be too nervous. So we're doing something a little bit different this year at the UH Racing launch. We're going to be doing an audience with, where I've got a set of questions in front of me, just to pick the brains of all the three bright and quite successful people, I could say. Yep, that's correct. You've still got quite a bit to prove yet. Starting well, but still. And then later on, we're going to open it up to the floor. So if you've got any questions, start thinking of them. And we've got 2 people on either side of the seating area, and we will be taking questions. So my first question, it's for you, Jackie. So if this was something you could have done 50 years ago, Formula student, would you have took part in it as an engineer, as a student in that respect?
Can you give me the question again?
Yep. If this Formula student was something you could have taken part in about 50 years ago, is it something you'd have considered doing?
I mean, 78 was a long time ago, and things have changed tremendously. Interestingly enough, all the people that I hired then had come up from vocation within the sport. They'd started as either mechanics, or they went with some other, like Lola, or people like that. So they were not qualified for the job that they did. Now, you have to have a combination of both. You have to have some practical experience to use your qualification in which to get the job that you want to do. So a lot of the things that started off with what is now an industry in the United Kingdom as car and motorsport manufacturing of race cars has grown hugely, and the number of people. I mean, I said earlier that I had 25 people when I started. Now you need several hundred. And the skill sets, of course, require not only the qualification, but together with that, practical of working together as a team. So it really didn't apply now to when I started. The game is now completely different.
So it's a more 21st century style of thing, or later generation in Formula One. Over to Ross now. So, as team leader, you've got quite a lot of decisions to make and quite a lot to do, really. How do you deal with the pressure of being team leader? You know, whilst you've got a degree to do as well.
It is tough to do it alongside a degree. I mean, all the students on the team are all doing degrees as well, so it's a tough experience, but it's for the love of motorsport. We really get through it. As team leader, there's a lot to do. Equally, every role on the team, there's a lot to do. And because of the fantastic team this year, I've been able to sort of get a lot of help within that, so I haven't really struggled at all this year. We've managed to get everything in on time, so we don't get any penalty points at competition, and we managed to deliver the car on time, which is the main thing we're here to do. So really, as team leader, it's been quite an easy job this year, which is quite nice compared to what previous team leaders have told me about. It's been quite a nice team this year. So
bold claims there.
Exactly, job done.
So is it a sign that you've done a good job?
Possibly, or it's a fantastic team. You see, that's the diplomatic answer there.
Very, very PR savvy there. Well done. So, question for all three of you now, gentlemen. Given more time outside of the academic work, so say UH Racing dropped the university side, and as a team, we're an outfit that could dedicate themselves 100% to motorsport. Do you think the team has got the capability to maybe run in quite a high Formula Series or even in the World Endurance Championship, given the time that they've got? Howard, would you like to start? You've not said anything yet?
Yeah, no, I can chip in on this one. Yeah, I think to an extent our Formula Student team really does actually behave like a mini Formula One team, because it's not just design engineering that you have to do. What we have to do is actually work together as a team, actually bring in resource, and so we've got a peer professional, and so we put together a partnership pack. We just simply wouldn't be able to do the sort of project that we put on without the help that we receive from industry, and for that we're really grateful. And so, you know, it's marketing side as well as designing, actually manufacturing. We've obviously got to do the testing as well. So there's an awful lot that, yeah, we actually have to go and do, just like a professional team. And these guys do it as an aside to their degree. It's quite incredible.
Amateurs can still be professional, they say, which I think it is exemplified here. Jackie, you've got a real hands-on experience in the industry, running your own Formula One car for multiple decades. Do you think this team, if we're asked somehow, could step up to the plate?
Well, from past experience, well, let me look back at the earlier days with producing Formula One cars. You have Jack Brabham, Colin Chapman, all those people I grew up with. But when I started my own team, you had a designer that led the design. And the most successful one was Ross Brawn. Now, why do I say that? Ross Skill was obviously had visions of where he wanted to go with his design, but I saw him in running the program that he managed his design team. He had a direction he wanted to go in, but he was successful in managing a group of people collectively together in which to produce the ideas that they all had, not just his. There's another example. I've had some failures, and I won't mention any names, but there was one designer who took over the program, had his design idea, and that was the one that he wanted. And I had one thing I said to him when I went from the manufacturing base. I said, there's great difficulty in the production of the car from the way you've designed it. And his answer was not my problem. And there it was a problem because the car failed. So I think the important thing is, with the complexity now you have with the automobile, is it takes a huge range of people. And the head designer has to use that collectively, not in one direction. And that's what this program is teaching all the students, which I think is so important for the future.
Thank you. Ross, do you want to give a quick answer? Do you think you could run in a big team or anything with this?
I think most definitely. Within the team this year, we've got such fantastic skills, ranging from a really broad base as well. It's not just like we've got 28 people who can use a set of spanners. We really do have people that can deal with every single side of the motorsport world, really, especially the media side of it as well, as that's so important these days to getting those sponsors in. As you can see from the car, when it gets unveiled later, we are really well supported this year with our sponsors. And like Howard said earlier, we are really grateful for that. And we have got a great team who are looking after our sponsors and really working towards a future partnership as well. But yeah, by all means, I think we would definitely be capable of going up there. So
there you go then. Keep your eyes out. In 10 years' time, you may see all these faces representing a major outfit in Formula One in the pit lane. So, Ross, I've got a question for you. Now, we said earlier you were the chassis designer. Apart from the chassis, what's your favourite part of the car this year?
it is a tough one. There is a lot of good things on the car this year. I think one of my favourite parts about the car this year is actually the pedal box. The lad who's been designing that this year has put a lot of hard work into it. The actual project itself is a fantastic read, an actual project behind it. And actually to see it in the car is fantastic as well. And I can't wait to get it to competition and test it out and show the design judges that we can design with innovation and be at the top of the competition again.
Well, the competition's closing in on us. Someone who entered Formula Student in its early days is this man sat in the middle here, Mr. Dr. Howard Ash. You're one of the first generations of Formula Student. So what differences are there now in terms of what the cars look like originally and to what they're like now? And do you regret not being able to do something more like this on your car?
It's a very interesting question. The quality that we see these days is just absolutely incredible. It really is. The level just across the car is absolutely phenomenal. One of the largest areas where we've seen really big improvements is in the electronics in the vehicle. And so just the capability that these cars have these days, whether it be launch control, traction control, flat shift, you name it, we've just seen leaps and bounds there. At the same time, though, nonetheless, though, the challenge is very much the same. The students have still got to design this whole car from scratch, and that is a massive achievement, or certainly a massive challenge. And the successful teams are the ones that put it all together. And so, across time, it hasn't really changed in that regard. But certainly, the standard has increased, and just the level of competition is absolutely frightening out there.
Do you miss it, working long hours at uni and then, I've got to go in the FS lab and stay up till 5 in the morning now?
I don't think I saw you at 2:30 this morning.
Well, you're looking quite fresh-faced considering you had a late night. Jackie, you've run a team and you talk about, how everyone's got to pull in and work as a team. What qualities makes a good engineer? What doing things like Formula Student makes engineers stand out, but if you were looking to hire an engineer, what would make you sit back after you've done your interviews and say, he was brilliant?
Well, all the best engineers, of course, always spend more money than you've got. And with a Formula One team, you can easily go bust, I can tell you, because I nearly did quite a few times. The most important person in the team was a designer that you could keep on budget. And I think that's another discipline that you instill here. All the best ones that I've known, apart from the reasons I gave, as inclusion within the design team, is they're always looking at what the competition's doing. Because when you look at how somebody else has got around the problem, if you've got the skill set and the budget and the research facility, you can take their idea and make it better. And that is sometimes always the safest approach to success.
Thank you very much there. So, last question that I'm going to ask, so just get ready if you've got any questions that you'd like to ask. And my last question is to Howard. We talk a lot about how much Formula Student can contribute to your postgraduate interests and going on to get a job, but how can Formula Student benefit a student's current studies? So they come out of a lecture about manufacturing. How well does Formula Student relate to what a student is actually studying at the time?
The beauty about Formula Student is that students actually get to put the theory that they're learning in the classroom into practice. And much more than that, though, it's actually the teamwork. And it's really that team ethic, the ability to work together, in a team, communicate, be able to produce your work on time, etc. Those are the really key skills that future employers want our graduates to have. And so it's just a win-win situation. It really is. There's nothing else quite like it. And so, yeah, no, it's just a great, great stepping stone.
Right then, thank you very much. So, I'm going to open it up to the floor now. Has anybody got a question they'd like to ask any of these gentlemen? Oh, we've got a couple now. Here we go. Who are we going to first? This gentleman there. Yep.
How much did the car cost?
Okay, I probably should take that one. That is a good question. Thankfully, we don't have to pay for the labour. So I dare say that would be one of the largest sorts of bills that a company would actually have to pay. But the sort of budget that we start with is in the region of about £12,000. And so the sort of vehicle that we're producing, it would certainly cost you an awful lot more than that. And it's really in thanks to our partners that we're able to produce the sort of car that we have done. So what we don't do is checkbook engineering by any stretch of the imagination. And so just because we've got to buy things like the tyres, materials, the raw materials, etc., that's really where the budget's going. And so what we do is obviously work with the resources that we've got. And I'm incredibly proud of what we're about to show you. And I think it's incredible value for money.
Definitely. I think I'd sooner have one of these than a Ford Fiesta. So we had another question, I believe. This gentleman here is who I spotted first.
Hi, it's a question for Jackie. Back when you were driving, when the cars were designed, a lot of it, well, the majority of the calculations would have been done on a slide rule, and a lot of it, putting it bluntly, was bum in the seat, whether it works or not. When you owned a team, it was at the infancy of computer software and all that sort of side of it for design. How would you compare the actual skill sets of the lads who've built this car compared with the similar numbers you said that you had at your factory that built your first car, or looking back in the 60s when you were driving, racing, the skill sets that were there?
Well, looking at the design, of course, I mean, the set of regulations dictate the design. So what you've got is you've got a low-speed vehicle here, not a high-speed vehicle. So a lot of the design, although Ross may disagree with me, is driven by being low speed. Also, it's driven by cost and construction techniques. I'm sure that if there was the budget, they would make it very small and light using carbon fibre. That wasn't around. So that the design of the car is very traditional from the 60s and 70s to the 80s, but with the gear changing and things like that, of course, it's more modern with paddle. So the comparison between what you could do with endless amount of money and what you did do with a limited amount of money, as Howard said, I think is where the competition should be judged.
Thank you for that. So have we got another gentleman here with the shirt on?
Hi. Obviously, a few years ago, Hertfordshire was in the forefront of introducing alternative power plant technologies. We had the hydrogen car, electric car, etc. To what extent are these new technologies coming into this year's car and perhaps future cars?
Sorry, I caught part of the question. So we're talking about the innovative cars that we've had in the past with the alternative powertrains. I think at some point we will be revisiting those. When we went along the route of some of the alternative powertrains, we were real trailblazers, really, with regard to that. And I kind of likened it to buying a laptop, because you'll invest in something today, and yet tomorrow, it's going to be superseded by something better. And so it's a big investment, and at the same time, the project needs to be sustainable. This is really important, because what we can't do, certainly the organisers of the event at the Institution of Mechanical Engineers, is need to make sure that universities can afford to compete in this competition. So I think, when the environment is right, and we can make a sound investment, then perhaps we will. But we certainly do innovate in various different areas on the vehicle. So for example, last year, we had a whole range of electronic wizardry on the car. And so, for example, where in the old days, you'd have to bring the car into the pits to make a change, perhaps to some of the suspension settings, it's not a problem. We can do that remotely. So changing damper settings and anti-roll bar settings, for example. So there's still an awful lot of innovation on the vehicles that we're producing here today.
It's quite an insight there into dampers. I think I might have to get some of them on my scooter. So have we got any more questions from anyone? Does that seem to be it then? Are we ready for the car to be unveiled then? Right, let's get on to the fun part. Thank you very much again. Can we give all these three gentlemen here a round of applause? And best of luck at Silverstone. Excuse me. So there we are, the UH18. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming along this evening. We'll be letting you come up now, once these lovely gentlemen have finished up here, to take pictures and come and have your picture taken next to this race car. Again, thank you very much for coming along, and I'd like to say a special thank you to Ashley and Laura, who have actually organised this event. So could we just give them a round of applause? They've been working tirelessly to do this. And also a special thank you to Jackie Oliver for coming along this evening. Thank you very much. Right then, just need to get to Silverstone now. Thank you very much.